We're going to start the session firstly with the prayers on page 9, the refuge and 4 immeasurables, and then on page 10 we will do all bilingually except those which we do 3 times. We do the Tibetan, the refuge twice in Tibetan, once in English. The 4 immeasurable we do once in Tibetan, twice in English, and then the rest we do once in both languages. In Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment reached. By the merit of listening to these teachings, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all living beings. May all living beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May all living beings be free from sorrow and the cause of sorrow. May all living beings not be separated from the bliss that is sorrowless. May all living beings live attachment, hatred, towards near ones afar, by living with equanimity. May all living beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May all living beings be free from sorrow and the cause of sorrow. May all living beings not be separated from the bliss that is sorrowless. May all living beings live attachment and hatred towards near ones afar, by living with equanimity. In accordance with the predisposition and intelligence of sentient beings, we request you to turn the Dharma wheel of greater, lesser, and common vehicle. With the brilliance of your wisdom, O compassionate one, illuminate the darkness of ignorance enclosing my mind. Enlighten my intelligence and wisdom, so that I may gain insight into the Buddha's word and text. Blessed. Now, turn to page 3. Tonight we will do the praise to the 12 great deeds of the Buddha, which is a chanting meditation on the Shakyamuni Buddha. So previously we've done this, but I haven't explained so detail how to do. So each time we are chanting these verses all the way down, even when we're reciting mantra, we should be in meditation to keep our mind very focused on the Buddha. So in the space before you visualize the Shakyamuni Buddha as you see the line drawing, or the image in the main shrine in the center, the golden Buddha seated in earth-touching gesture with the left hand in meditation, but not a physical statue, but nature of light. And the main meditation is when you're chanting this, particularly when you recite the mantra, which is on page 4, Shakyamuni Buddha mantra, which is the word which is to meditate on the Buddha while reciting the mantra. So the wording is Dadyatha, which means it is thus. Then Om means homage. Then you have word Muni. Muni means sage. Sage or saint is realized being. So we are invoking the ability to realize. We too have the potential. We talked about in the first lesson, Buddha potential. We all have Buddha nature. Shakyamuni Buddha was not Buddha always. So he practiced, and then he did all the steps of training and finally became Shakyamuni Buddha in his last incarnation, the historical Buddha. So he became Shakya, the Muni. Muni is a sage. Tibetan word for sage is one who's able. Means one who's able to conquer one's defilements, karma, and mostly cognitive obscuration of thinking self is real. One who actually knows the self is not. Therefore, a saint is usually selfless, transcend earth and water and all elements because they can transcend them because they don't grasp to their body, which is made up of elements, as self. These are elements, That's why when it's cold, we get cold. Hot, we get hot. The actual mind, it doesn't get cold. Mind is not elements. Mind is non-element. Mind is not matter. Element is matter. So the physical body is material. Saint is one who has transcended the physical world and reached the highest spiritual level. So even in Buddhism, we have Arhathood, Bodhisattvahood, and then the Buddhahood. The highest is the Buddhahood. So even the Arhats and Bodhisattva are not called Muni. Muni is only the enlightened one, Shakyamuni. So, of course, the qualities of Arhats and the Bodhisattvas are also very sage, very saintly qualities. In the Christianity and Catholic, they anoint the saint after the saint has died. Seems like they were so busy in the office they couldn't recognize he's a saint, or he couldn't show it to everybody that he's a saint. In Buddhism, nobody designate or posthumously called saint. They actually are, reveal many qualities. So when we say Muni, that refers to the saintly qualities. As Tibetan word tupa means able, means they can do things that we are not able to. So they have extraordinary tupas, abilities. So there are 5 tupas in this word, this mantra. Muni. First is 2 munis. Muni. The first 2 munis are saint, which means the first level, second level of enlightenment. First level is path of accumulation. Second is path of preparation. Then Mahamuni means great, the great saint. So that refers to path of seeing. Mahamuni. Shakyamuni, that is path of meditation. The saint who's always in meditation. Even he is doing ordinary things, he's always in meditation. So, and then Yesoha, the last bit, is the 5th path of normal learning. Is completely gone beyond. So what we're doing is we are invoking these saintly qualities of the Shakyamuni Buddha as we meditate. We're calling it. So how should our meditation is when you meditate, when you chant these verses and the mantra, And that during that time you visualize from his forehead of the Buddha and his throat and his heart simultaneously 3 rays of light shine towards you. White light from the forehead into your forehead. It goes down and filters through your whole body, bathes your karma of body, washes away all your karmic habits, breaks them, negative ones, restores your body with the positive, blessed karmic patterns. And the red light coming from his throat goes into your throat, cleanses all your vocal chakra and your linguistic kind of obscurations. Bad language speaking, karma or habits are all dissolved by this red light. But instead you're given this language of gentleness and wisdom and kindness. And from his heart radiate blue light, this goes into your heart and it changes your whole mind and attitudes, thoughts and opinions. The ill will is gone, replaced by goodwill, desire gone, replaced by contentment, and ignorance gone, replaced by wisdom, and so on. So with this in mind, during this chanting you visualize in the front of you the Buddha, from whose forehead, throat and red heart radiate 3 lights simultaneously. They just drill through your places and just penetrate through the breakdown all the karmic pattern and blesses you. And you can also imagine people next to you, not just us but your friends who needs to be included. So with this mind, this is very special meditation you can do at least for this 10 minutes. We'll be chanting this, and we've been doing this before, but I haven't quite explained. So I'm glad one of you down there asked me to explain this. Thank you for doing that. Actually, teaching should be requested. It's much better. People say, "Could you please explain this? Could you please?" And then there's a lot more easier. Sometimes we just think the teachings all taken and received okay, but people never ask for particular things. So it's good to have people like you who come regularly, and if you have some topics or things, you ask me directly or through our people, and it's all get accounted and included. So tonight we'll just do the chanting, and I want you to really do this as a meditation. Just mindfully picture yourself in presence of the most holiest of holies, which is the fully enlightened Buddha, who also represent all the other beings you regard as holy, bodhisattvas, God or Jesus, if that's what you prefer, or you want to include, that's perfectly fine. Kuan Yin, Tara, Avalokiteshvara, and anyone, all the great living teachers, like His Holiness Dalai Lama, just see him right there, and then bring your mind to it, and feel it, and just witness it, and then experience it while we do the chanting. So with this, we do this chanting first. and the Graval Bene Yavahana Brahma I bad Abadigra Yada Grestella no Yumeme Yashas Vades Gazamaganda Yudreza Haragazade I bad you and Amitabha Enakada Vewaleganda Azavena Dajarinazo Yudrakazaveskahaveza I bad and Yaraganda Navevalejazavyeda Renazeho Denjavlahave Adayazaneda Grezjava Ibadandayanabawa Reza Javigretelatame Practices Yabagrerevabe Intelligence in Joseph Rabeganelata Yes and wonderful ditri in Vajabo Joseph Hamove How Buddha would yamba Lageva Mezabonabe Yadanda Mavela Zarana Enzaobezotrevega Ivada Yobavandede Habane Yudazemaza Devadada and Amarazavaranazi Sejengreve Jayahava Nerakazeland Ashravadi Anarava Enadatreva Anabaya Yemezandeva Yusvedava Hawaibada Tevaya Hadasendeme Yupazindu the Grenevana Ninda Pyalanda Kushinaga Vama Maravajahima Judeza Demelove and Beta Demere Yemenere Lestuabe as a Zagas Yabazoibada Mada Mereda Presidade Ablezava Mazo Ojiji Meo Bezemula da Ganda Oda Blezavanda Zugada Oda King Oda Clan Oshaka Jazaya Vadelas Pura Aya Wanda Nemo Hazala Mea Bigan Layo Adyada Amane Adyada Amane Mune Mahamune Shajamune So Adyada Amane Mune Mahamune Shajamune So Adyada Amane Mune Mahamune Shajamune So Adyada Amane Mune Mahamune Shajamune 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 Adyada Tadyada Amune Mune Ahamune Shajamune Tadyada Amune Mune Ahamune Shajamune. So to conclude this, imagine Shakyamuni Buddha, from whom the three rays of light were coming, himself also now becomes those three lights and then enters into us. Then we feel that our whole consciousness, body, speech and mind, completely fuse with his blessed energy. Om Buddha Mera Jade Bada Mahara Baba Buddha Maha Veda Raja Adam Baba Buddha. So we started this term talking different topics of analytical meditation, the mind analytically thinking, reasoning, receiving, understanding, checking, reconfirming whatever the messages are taught or discussed in while we do listening. We did that first on the Buddha nature, that the fact that all sentient beings has a Buddha potential, if utilized and induced, it could be awoken, just like an egg. If it's hatched, then it will become an egg, become rather like the bird or whatever the egg is of. But unless the egg meets the right condition, it will not grow. So, in order to hatch the egg, not all forms of life are blessed with that condition, except precious human rebirth. And those who have kindness and compassion, we talked about various qualities people have, signs of existence of Buddha nature, particularly consciously cultivating themselves. So tonight's topic is very connected with the Buddha nature, that Buddha nature, even though is permeated, exists in all sentient beings, even animals and so on, but they don't have the condition during which they can consciously embrace and cultivate consciously. Whereas only form of life is people who are blessed with precious human rebirth. We talked about refuge on the second lesson. We talked about law of karma. And then last week we talked about all the realms of existence. So by surveying all the realms of existence, we come to know there are as many as 32 different realms of existence. Majority are all divine. And only 7 of them, or only 5 of them, are non-divine, like demigods, humans, and animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings. The rest are all what you call celestial beings. And all the celestial beings are too comfortable to wish to practice Dharma. So they cannot consciously cultivate their Buddha nature, even though some of the higher realms are possible, but we are not there. So we can't envy the God realms and try to awaken Buddha nature there. We have human rebirth, but not all human realms. When we talk about the human realms in the Buddhist cosmology, there are 12 continents on which human beings reside. And only those who live in the southern continent, which is Earth, And those, though they are short-lived, they only live less than 100, not even that, too many. Others who live 250, 500 years, and so on. But those realms, human beings in those realms are not precious human rebirth. They don't hear Dharma. There is no Buddha. And only those who live in an Earth planet, which is the planet we are on, have the access to Dharma. But not all people, not even for all the people in the southern continent or the Earth planet are interested in Dharma. So only a small fraction of human beings are interested in Dharma, and therefore can consciously activate the awakening of the Buddha nature. So this is very useful for us, therefore, to go through the go to analyze how precious our life is, how rare, and how blessed it is. It's such an important Buddhist meditation, the topic. Here I have a quote from Shantideva: relying upon the boat of human body, free yourself from the great river of pain. As it is hard to find this boat again, this is no time for sleep, you fool. Of course he's talking to himself, not to us. We are much wiser than the fools. No. But if we know we are fools, we're no longer fools, Anyway, so Shantideva says this, that they rely upon the boat of human body. We should use this human body as a good boat, Boat is to be useful when you paddle, when you sail, and take the passengers yourself, so that you can ferry beings to reach other shore. This boat is to free from river of great pain, Samsara is full of suffering. We talked about all the realms of existence, unimaginable suffering. By talking a little bit of detail about one suffering of it, we tremble. We almost can't bear it listening. It's that ferocious, And even in human realm, we think it's the most fortunate form of human rebirth, but that's what we're trying to say. You know that it's not every human being think that way, and actually their conditions and difficulties are unlike fortunate. Looks like hell on earth. They are drowned in ocean of violence, ocean of sufferings of a mental kind, even though they have everything, but they are not using their human body to negotiate the torrent of the river of pain that is self-caused. But they do not know that is self-caused. They always lay blame on something, and then they make themselves even caught up in the very whirlpool of the river and get drowned, and ignoring the very boat with which they could free from. This boat is very hard to find. Hard to find this boat again. He says this is difficult to find even once. So possibilities finding another is very slim a chance. And so this boat you have found is amazing. So therefore it's a fool if you don't know that this is such a precious boat to ferry you from the ocean of suffering. The river of great pain he was referring to is the river of pain of torture, heat, cold, hunger, thirst. This is in the lower realms, And in animal realm, river of pain. Yeah, just every animal is hunted and preyed by many others, and hardly any of them escape unhunted or unkilled. If they ever become a little powerful than the predators, they may be injured. But they will be injured for days, and eventually they die. Nobody medicate, nobody do it. So that's why it's look at the sufferings. Even in human realm, we think it's a little bit far removed from such pain. No, we are developing huge machines to destroy in people in no time. We are more destructive than the animals. Animals, if they fall close, cannot get you. They can't do anything. Human beings press of a button, fire missiles, and destroy bombs. Look at Syria. There is real hell on earth. Syria shouldn't be called Syria anymore. It's a serious hell. It is so shocking. Yet it's not stoppable because our few are unable to see that why they're wasting their life as a president or whatever. They just see nothing but grip on power. So it's indeed fool to cause so much people of their own killed by their own people. Usually we think the enemy is outside, but in that case, no. In many ways, Buddhist teaching says all the enemies are within, not out there. All the problems are not someone or something that happened to us. It's actually our thought, our negative emotions about that. Now, not doing anything about our negative emotion is ignoring the boat. And so that's why our meditation tonight is on the precious human life. And our precious human life is what the precious human life means, that if a life does not constitute these following characteristics, it's not a precious human life. So that means majority of humans, 7 billion or whatever, huge number of the percentage of the humans are mere humans. They're only bipeds. They're only bipeds. They are not precious human rebirth. Bipeds means just 2 legs. If that qualifies them human, we can call them human. But majority of them are not free from that. So let's meditate. Let's talk about it. And I want you to really meditate. The purpose of this meditation is to realize how precious our life is and how many ways this body qualifies. The first is on the nature of the meditation. First we have to meditate on nature or the qualities that this human life endows. First is the recognition of the 8 freedoms. We can now recognize the 8 freedoms very well, because recognize of the 8 freedom means difficulties of not being born and the hell realms. Cause of the hell realm, karmic cause of being born hell realm is hatred and violence. Yet human beings create this very cause of hell. So to not be born in hell in this life is amazing karma we must have created to escape from that torture. So therefore we need to meditate. I don't know whether you can use the word alas or not, but because alas seems like sad. Or you can say, wow, wow, my life is free. Free. I was not born as a hell into a hell realms. When you really look at that, the suffering of the hell in the cold and the heat is enormous. We have -2 degrees. We can't bear it. We put all the heaters on, put all the blankets on, and we think this is terrible. I wish I can go somewhere up north. Well, so we should meditate. What it must be like in the hell in Antarctica? Not a small patch of cloth or heater of any kind. Just imagine this is not just for a couple of nights or not a couple of weeks. Its whole life is like that. So we must meditate. Yet the cause of cold helling is people turning very cold face to each other. They just ignore each other. They say bad things to each other that makes them send chill through their shoulder. And yet people don't know they're causing rebirth of hells to each other. And so this meditation is very important to warn us to not this life we are free from hell rebirth, but we might be causing hell rebirth if we are not mindful of our thoughts and deeds, particularly thoughts. Ill will. Ill will is a cause of cold hells. Violence, actual with life destruction, violence is hell realm, the hot hells. Yet we have no guarantee that we won't be born in a hell realm. Looking at sometimes our kind of unconstrained thoughts and words and deeds. So therefore, we meditate that I cannot afford to be lazy and be mindless what I do and think and say, but instead value this precious human rebirth and do not let it go astray, waste it. So I'm thankful that I'm free from not being born in hell. This life is indeed is so free, it's free of all that. Some people even think they're so happy they live in Australia, where some of the conditions are far better than even USA. They're free, that we at least got a good Medicare. And they even say that my brother lives in USA, and my other brother lives in Canada. Canada is much better than USA, and my brother says, "Oh, I wish I was living in Canada." because not as good as in Canada, even in USA, So we should realistically compare positively. This cold or heat or other suffering that we bear. Say maybe you're doing some important work for someone that you really love, okay. You feel cold here, then you can discourage, you don't want to do it. We should remember, this is nothing. This is repaying the kindness for my mother or helping the people, poor bearing through this heat and cold for a couple of hours is a good karma for me. Look at the beings who suffer in hell for nothing. For nothing they have to put up with that kind of torture every day, every night, every year, so long time. And that's the meditation. That's the recognition of the freedom from being born in the hell realms, and that we have to really recognize that, and recognize the cause of it. We must have not been so violent. We must have not been so cold to people. We must have been warm and kind and careful to people. This has earned me this precious human rebirth. I will not make this waste. And likewise, second is freedom from being born in hungry ghost realm. The number of people or beings in hungry ghosts is enormous. Number of people who are hungry in this world and die from hunger is even more unimaginable. There probably more people die from hunger and thirst than from war. And that's happening on planet Earth. So we should realize, what's the cause of rebirth in hungry ghost realm? Miserliness, stinginess. We may not be born as hungry ghosts now, but sometimes we're so mean, so stingy, arguing over small, miserable objects, and take to great length to cause more unskillful deeds. So while I'm free from being born as a hungry ghost, I might be causing them. If I'm causing the rebirth and hungry ghost by stinginess, miserliness, meanness this lifetime, then I am ignoring the birth, precious human rebirth. I'm sucked away by the whirlpool of my miserliness into the great pain, river of pain. So therefore, one needs to realize, say sometimes you're hungry, hungry. Like when we do retreat, we do fast maybe on the second day or afternoon or whatever. People wish they can really eat, They don't realize it's good to fast for good reasons. And they crook all of a sudden, they don't want to meditate. Their mind is so all over the place. They wish they could eat. At least they should feed us, type of thing. Oh, actually nobody saw it. I didn't see anybody speaking like that, but I'm just assuming. When you don't know the higher purposes, or when you sort of fasting and retreat, you just feel really, I wish I could eat. What are they going to feed? We don't realize we're doing for the highest purpose, highest cause, and hungry ghosts don't have food for whole life, And therefore, one must realize I'm creating cause of hungry ghosts here. I should instead give and share what I have to those who have not. Instead of thinking I should eat or I should get, if lots of people do that, kind people who think of the hungry people, they'll see those the World Vision pictures, images of hunger in Africa and how many people die of starvation. Quite a lot of people quite willing to, give $10 a month, and lots of people do that. If they did that with this understanding, it's even greater. Then they don't feel, I've been giving to this, I hope it's going well, hope it's going to the right cause, and sometimes not. That kind of mind. You just have to trust those people. Majority definitely goes, and there are a lot of proofs that how many of those charitable organization people's help is enormous. They are actually living with the hungry and thirsty people, rubbing shoulders, themselves, risking life and of illness and so forth. These people are actually making it possible through my little donation. And with that, may everybody be alleviated from hunger and thirst and the cause of that by my offering this. With that attitude, then we act like we are using the boat. Then we're using the boat. Otherwise, if we feel really poor or sad, or I don't have this, I don't have that, feel very ungiven or ungrateful for what we have, we are basically hungry ghosts in human realm. So we are causing immediately next rebirth. If not this life, already feeling poverty cycle, we are creating. So therefore we should meditate. Whenever you're slightly hungry and thirsty, and then people don't want to do the things, practice things, because they're thirsty. And they just miss the drink and they want to go home. They don't want to sit on the floor all day. They want to lie down on comfortable bean bags or whatever, They don't know. It's good to experience, not to forbear those difficulties is wasting the precious boat, not actually paddling it. One day this body has to be left behind and with nothing done. So the boat is never used for good purposes, have to be left behind. So instead one should persevere to actualize the function and use of my precious human rebirth. Buddha himself had a beautiful body, and he didn't want this used body to be wrapped in silks and garments and in the palaces and surrounded by people. And he said, this is just leaving this boat in the dry land. I should instead use every ounce of the energy that is given my body by father and mother for the good cause. And then he said, even if the skin and there's no flesh at all, and skin and bone become one, I shall not get up from this seat. That you couldn't distinguish whether it's skin or the bone, because he knows it's a boat. When you're using the boat, you don't mind whether the boat is soaked by water or not. So one who's attached to the body, and then they can't do this. It's too much for my knees, too much for my back. And then they start worrying about the boat. Instead of paddling the boat, they want to leave the boat in the dry sand, as if it's not corroding there. Actually, a boat corrodes more on dry land than on water, if it's made properly. So actually, our precious human rebirth is made to last for good purposes. It is not made to be wasted for futile, meaningless activities. So with this in mind, one has to always use, I have freedom from being born in hungry ghosts. How can I possibly create the cause of it this life with the precious human rebirth, fair enough, you create causes when you are so unfortunate, you don't have any. But whereas a precious human rebirth, if I'm doing this, then it's just complete waste of time. See, no wonder Shantideva calls you fool. So I must make sure that this doesn't happen. And then the third is freedom from being born in animal realm. Yeah. So many chances of being born as animal. Animal give birth many hundreds, some of them, yes, just quadruplets, 8 of them, 10 of them, like fish, just so many. It's only the mammals give less, but other beings give birth to many multiples. So chances of karma being created to be born as animal, which is ignorance, which is confusion, which is doubt, these things are actually a cause of animal rebirth, So animal rebirth is very, very easy to create. But yet, out of all of those chances of bad rebirth, we strike another gold. Jackpot. we got precious human rebirth. We didn't born as animal. Wonderful. Wow. Another wow. Wow. I wasn't born as a... My mind is pretty stupid and deluded even as a human being, I wonder why I didn't create that much a severe cause to be born animal. I'm so grateful to not be born as an animal. Even though animals are beautiful and have many wonderful things, but their ability to awaken the Buddha nature and to follow the path and embrace triple gem is not possible. So therefore their life is not blessed as much as I am. So therefore, we sometimes get frightened, don't we? We fear of this, fear of losing job, or fear of this or that. We should think that's only happens maybe once or twice in life, maybe in the life you're losing job or whatever. Animals, every moment is being hunted and preyed upon by, if not by the same species, smaller ones attack the large ones, large attack the big ones, if not by the next neighbor, if not human beings, if not the government, if not particularly licensed people. Not a single person is charged for killing those, and yet they are beautiful creatures. They too have right to live, but their right is not honored. And how could they practice Dharma? And yet, cause of animal rebirth is often in our mind. Unconsciously, people doubting, people fearful, anxiety, restless, very irritable, very like a childish-like behavior. These things are all cause of animal rebirth. So I must, take into account every time mindfully and use my precious human rebirth, not to go wasted, but restrain from acting as a cause of animal rebirth, but with dignity, restrain from and practice wholesome, selfless act through this precious human, for this is blessed human rebirth. And then in the meantime, show kindness to animal-like helpless sentient beings, as they have no protector, they have no guardians, they have no home, they have no, at least domesticated animals got a little tag, a number, but kangaroos got no tags, They just completely let shot or killed by anybody. And then being kind to those beings, those animals, is they are mothers of some, they are sisters of others. They may have been our own mothers in the past, and so how could I possibly treat them as ignorantly and ignore them like this? As a person who realized the merit of being born as a precious human rebirth, I must show more kindness to beings like animal. And so therefore, try to have that kind of sensitivity. And the fourth one is freedom from being born as a long-life God. This is what I was referring to. All the God realms, in desire realm gods, formless realm gods, form realm gods, they are particularly long. Desire realm God, their life is so long, and their life is so pleasant and pleasurable. There's not a single reason for them to strive to practice Dharma. And this is what all the religious traditions call heaven. People are all praying to be born in heaven, but in Buddhism it's a taboo. Gosh, you want to go there? So wanting to be born in the God realm is considered to be worse than hell. Because at least in hell you exhaust all the bad karma. in the God realm, you waste all your merit. You waste all your merit by indulgence. So actually, it's much more. Future of a hell birth is better than in higher realm God. In higher realm God, they waste away all the virtues, and then only to fall again in the hell realm.
So basically, at least from hell realm, after the lifespan exhausted, they didn't create any negative karma. They didn't waste any merit. They exhausted their karma. So in a long life God, they're so pleasant. They don't have even a sign of seeing old age, sickness, death like we human beings have. They can't even see that, let alone hunger and thirst and killing each other. They don't see any of that because their life is basically ideal. No wonder all religious traditions call it heaven. In Buddhism, we don't call them heaven. We call them transient God realm. Transient means it's not eternal. Most people believe the heaven is eternal. In Buddhism, however long the life of the God's realm they're not eternal. They are transient. Transient. Maybe half a kalpa's time or 20 kalpa's time, they will not be God anymore. But after that, then they have nothing left that is good. And they're only to wait for next life is the lowest of the lowest rebirth. And so who wanted to go there? But yet, that lots of people are seeking to gain heaven. They're praying to be born in heaven. Why you want to create cause to be born in heaven when you are free from that now? As if you missed a chance, the top thing. As if human rebirth is second best and God realm is the best type of thing. That people who don't know the samsara, we talked last week, there's some whole cycle of existence, whole realm of existence. If you don't know whole realms of existence, then people envy the God realms and think it is. So even human beings who are following multitudes of religions, most of them want to go to heaven. The destination after here, most people are striving hard as a good Christian or quite a lot of even good Buddhists, they think good Buddhists, so that they can earn a place in Sukhavati or some realms. Whatever they call it, doesn't matter. They're all next door to the God realms. Little Buddhist tent called Sukhavati hasn't got any extraordinary. It's really confused as a heaven. Even though they say that you can hear Amitabha or somebody, and we don't want to say no, you can't, but it's quite deafening to think that is eternal heaven. It is not. Of course, we don't want to denigrate any good things out there. If you're really tempted, go and tell us later. Actually, much better than you have telling, than the Abhidharma text been telling, It is said that God has so much suffering, They don't have suffering, generally speaking, gross suffering, but individual gods experience the old age. Their body is celestial, so they emit a lot of light. And they don't have any dirt, their body don't produce, because their body is not made out of parental or red and white elements. Their body is miraculously produced. Because it's miraculous and divine, they don't produce any feces and they don't produce any of the body sweat. And so their body is uncontaminated. But as each of the god themselves individually, when their time has arrived, then they smell foul body smell of their own body, and that's the sign of the suffering, And they don't believe, what's wrong with me? Looks like everybody's ignoring them. Everybody's neglecting them, ignoring them, running away, thinking that you become a leper or something, And they perceive that they're being ignored, and then they got to check, and they think they also smell a strange odor they don't have. And then their cloth, that's actually heavenly cloth, then also making noise that you're going to die, you're going to die. They can hear their death being mentioned. And they say, what? I thought I was eternal. This was some enlightenment or nirvana or whatever. They get shocked by hearing this, and then when they pay attention to check, they realize, they're gonna die. Not only they're gonna die, they can foresee their future rebirth in hell, and that spend thousands of years before their death. So the worries and anxiety we talk about in this life people have is not comparable for the worries and anxiety of God realm. Even for the last week of the God's week is longer than our week. God's week is thousands of years of our years. So they have this terrible body odor and bad smells, and then that otherwise all the God has these heavenly flowers decorating them naturally. All the flowers they're wearing are naturally become withered and soiled, and then everything goes off, So they notice all these omens of them not being quite right there, and then they lose faith in the law of karma, and they lose faith in the teachings, even if they have. Then they destroy all the merits, and yet they can't do anything. So don't ever pray to be born as a long life God or divine, because it is not enviable place. But if you knew this when you got realm, you say, you're going to cancel the second half of my life. You can't do that. You can't cancel that. You can't withdraw bookings, So don't book in the first place. Don't just list a God as a realm. So you should try to come back as a human rebirth, possibly as precious human rebirth. So therefore we should rejoice. And when people are indulging, so one cause of God rebirth is doing a lot of good deeds. We're doing a lot of mundane good deeds, like morality, like generosity, like tolerance. Lots of people practice this. You look at all the religious people; they're very strict. They go by the book. They try to honor, but their merit, their generosity, their morality is totally attached to me going to heaven. Me going to heaven, because me being respected by people, honored by people, whole motivation is completely soiled because of all the asceticism, all the morality they do only earns them to be born as God realm, but no wisdom of what actually the God realm is. I must say the majority of all religious tradition people, unless they have understand the view of emptiness, are all doing that, unfortunately. So even among Buddhists, if they don't know the teachings, particularly the teaching of the transcendental wisdom, they actually are all creating to be born in God realm. And because the cause of God realm is morality. Pure morality, a lot of generosity, a lot of good deeds, but with a clinging to the resolve for oneself to earn a good place. Which majority of people always doing the generosity and morality for the sake of recognition, for the sake of higher rebirth, for the sake of better place, and they don't meditate on the emptiness. They don't see the emptiness of inherent existence of their generosity or whatever, or when people harm them, they don't meditate on that. They try to tit for tat. They try to retaliate the person. So all the religious people, without the understanding of view of emptiness, are actually creating cause to be born in the God realm. So that's why cause of God rebirth is created mostly by Buddhist and fellow religious people. But people who understand the view of emptiness, not just intellectually, they are going to be able to rescue themselves from causing to be born in God realm. So we must say, what I'm doing this, I'm creating this to earn a God space in God realm, And there's another samsara, so why want to do that? So that's the main meditation. One of the main purpose of the meditation on the 8 freedoms is we need to know not only we are free from them now, but we should not cause the birth in those by even our religiosity. Without the merit and wisdom, understanding emptiness, most practices become cause to be born there. So that's why it's very important. Those first 4 freedoms are called freedom from non-human situations. Now the next 4 are freedom even within human. Not everybody have those freedoms. So 4th one is the freedom from being born as where the Buddha do not appear. where the Buddha does not appear. When a time the Buddha has not appeared, where the Buddha has not appeared, then we are not free from that. If the place where we are, a Buddha has appeared, then. But majority of human beings in other planets, or even in Earth, they don't know about Buddha anything. Buddha was born, but they don't know anything about. They're not interested in it. So they're deprived of Buddha Dharma. But where there is Buddha, where we are, where Buddha Dharma is appearing, manifesting, then we are thankfully not in a human realm where Buddha's teaching has not reached. So we're thankful that people who brought Dharma in here 50 years ago, 60 years ago, not more than that, maybe 100, little bit of happening there. Because the migration of people who are Buddhists, but not really, active sort of study and learning and teaching happen. They're mostly just a cultural thing. Most Buddhist centers are basically a ethnic cultural kind of entities, just support their own people to maintain their culture. They actively do not promote teachings because of whatever difficulties they have to the people on a wider audience. So that shows how difficult it is to bring Dharma even in human realm, a lot of people say that, they go to the center but they don't give any teaching. They do a lot of chanting or prayers and ritual things. They can see Buddha but still they cannot understand the teachings because they don't teach in classes or in the languages done in there. And then those people, unless they know that language, they don't know. Even they know the language, they don't teach much. They just do ritual things and people don't know. And Tibetans are included. Majority of Tibetan are just blind faith following. They don't actually know the Dharma very well, unfortunately. And that shows how what looks like Buddhists also, majority don't know the Dharma. Because the Buddha has appeared, but only in form. Its teaching has. So the next one is freedom from being born in where there is no Dharma. Yeah. Where there's Dharma doesn't mean temples or people who practice. Where you actually go and get the Dharma, you really realize Dharma. You know the form different from substance. What really is Dharma? Where people are not worshipping people. People worshippers are not Buddhist. Buddha said, don't rely on people, but to the Dharma. Until they really have accepted the Dharma and Dharma has become their refuge, they have no Dharma. They're just befriending people or culture or their unique characteristic, but they haven't got the Dharma. Those who have found the Dharma are few. That's why chances of being with the supposed Buddhist, but not studying knowledge, knowing or practicing any Dharma is much greater. So therefore, it's very easy to lose, we are human, but still no Dharma. Dharma center is right next door. But they're no Dharma. And they actually wanted them not to be built. They're opposing the teaching, promoting of that. Some people deliberately do act, Quite a lot of our sister centers or other centers suffer. The local people are protesting. Buddhists are building temple. They don't want the teachings or noise or whatever. So environment is not always welcoming. So it's very, very easy to. And that's why we have the good fortune of having here in a school building, because it's a public place. So we are not putting sort of a lot of sharp things on the top to attract the unnecessary opposition. So it just looks like a very simple, and inside we do the things. But if you try to build an ostentatious looking building, which most Buddhists think that's Buddhism, which is sort of culturally it is, but you can lose hole into it. So it's difficult to truly meet the Dharma. And the next one is freedom from being born with severe sense impairment. Lots of people have a lot of disabilities, profound mental, intellectual disabilities. We're talking about mental, intellectual disabilities. some people might have minor impairment to the senses, but they are very intelligent. So that's not considered here. But you look at how many people are born with disabilities, how many people are on the disability pension, and how many are actually deeply, severely impaired intellectually, mentally, either by accident or from karma or birth. You can see it. They could not access Dharma easily. So, yet the karma of being born being born with sense impairment is people create all the time. People say, you're blind, you're deaf. They say, saying blind to others will make you to be born as blind. Yet people don't want to restrain from karma, calling bad names. So therefore we must not only think that we are free from that. One thing, last one I missed there is, eighth one is not in the list, is freedom from holding wrong views. Some people are very, very intelligent. They're right, but like Richard Dawkins, he's become expert in, combating religion, any religion, Buddhism included. He holds his rigid views, try to prove all the religions wrong, for instance, philosophically and spiritually, A very intelligent mind, but totally dedicating to denigrate and tell how religions are wrong, Of course, quite a lot of people are not doing that, but they still have really wrong views. They say, no, Buddhism as a religion, no. Buddhism as intellectual kind of some consumption, yes. But with the bowing down thing, with the refuge thing, with the praying thing, with the chanting thing, they say no. So, which quite a lot of people miss this one, the last one. There's particularly people who they think too sharp, too intelligent, too scientist to be Buddhist, They say we are scientist Buddhists. That means they hold some wrong views regarding some of the things like law of karma or rebirth or things they cannot fathom. That's easily understood. Not fathoming is one thing, but having wrong view is completely another, isn't it? Like say, there are lots of things I would not fathom. Actually, infinite things I don't fathom what the Buddha said. I don't afford to have any wrong views against it, saying it's wrong or it's unproven or anything like that. Now, there are many who will do that, because as a proudly. Even we have Buddhists who are really writing books and making a living out of writing, saying that there is no rebirth. He hasn't seen it or something. There are Western writers who've been Buddhist monks for years and nowadays teaching Buddhism, but saying there's no proof there is rebirth, and holding these kind of strong views and propagating that as if that is going to benefit a lot. Maybe it is benefiting. Maybe he's a bodhisattva in disguise. I'm not saying that. Because you need to stir the samsara. People are really... someone need to provoke it to bring some kind of clarity. So maybe I'm totally wrong view myself. I like to believe the latter, actually. But I'm not questioning Buddha, so that might save me a little bit. But so it's very difficult, isn't it? To have the freedom from all of these 8 is extremely difficult. So let's go 8 freedoms. Then we have 10 endowments. This is very important. 10 endowments means 10 extraordinary appreciative qualities. These are personal, 5 personal and 5 circumstantial. First is being born as a human being. So that's, personal karma. We would have done all sorts of things to get here. And so we should thank the past. Thank the past. People think their past is bad. Wait a minute, you have got a precious human rebirth. You shouldn't be too harsh on yourself. You got a precious human rebirth, unlike all the animals, unlike all the things. Second is being born as a central land. So being born as a central land in the old days, geographical central or spiritual central. So geographical land, they used to think it's only in Indian subcontinent. But the world has so much become smaller. Thank goodness, airplanes. So don't worry about geographical Australia being southern tip, Australia being down under. Don't worry. So actually, being born as central land. Central means dharmically central, means where there is sangha, where there is dharma, where there is honoring of it, respect of it, practicing of it, teaching of it, for sangha members, fully ordained monk, fully ordained nun, lay men, lay women. Where these four exist, which we do, in Australia, there are lots of sangha is very big, quite big. Not just one ethnic community, but when you look at it, quite a lot of sangha. Not just monks and nuns worship by their own ethnic community, which they do. Like Sri Lankans worship on their own monks and don't want to ignore the Thai or Tibetan. That kind of is not really Buddhism. That's just culturally just supporting their thing. But we're talking about people who open-mindedly respect all the Dharma teachers, sanghas, and sangha members and centers, and while their style of practice may differ, but still really see the beauty of Australian openness and rejoice that. That shows that there's true sangha. They are not sort of waxed eye Buddhist. Their eyes open. They're not waxed by their cultural bias, So we should respect all Buddhist traditions, and the existence of the sangha is very rare, very difficult, Central land. So we not only born, but we have traveled. We have come from land where our own home country may be difficult, like my home, difficult to practice Dharma. We have to basically run for life. At a particular time, it was not conducive to practice even our Dharma, but could escape to a place where this practice can be freely practiced again. So that is a sign of precious human rebirth that we have. Others are not like that. So we should rejoice to the person we are, to the country where we live. If we rejoice that, we should never feel sad, never feel depressed. This is the benefit of this meditation we will talk about later. Being born with a sound body and mind. This is a personal endowment, personal achievement. Your mother fed you well, your father looked after you well, they sent you to school, they taught you, and therefore we have sound body and mind. So we should appreciate that. Others die before they turn 2, before they turn 5, before they can crawl, because they didn't have able parents who can nurture and look after that. So many born as a human being never walked. They only crawled a couple of yards, and that's about they did. And some never ran. They just walked a few feet, and after that they died in the court. So we are free from so many difficulties. Not having committed the 5 heinous crimes. People who have created heavy karma, like killing father, the mother, and killing teachers, spiritual masters, causing schism in sangha, and shedding blood on the Buddha's body. So these are the 5. If someone who has done this terrible karma, they feel so bad. Their karma is so heavy. Their life has been ruined by the severity of their negative karma. So we should be thankful that we have not engaged in such, and having faith in Dharma. This is the most important one. Even if you're free from all those 4, but if you don't have faith in Dharma, you will not turn to Dharma. Even it took a while to earn the faith, you have all the weeks, months, years that you studied, read, and traveled, and listened teachings, and sat through some teachings, practices, definitely have made yourself personal endowment. This is personal gift that nobody can give to us, even others cannot give to us, unless we ourselves, some karmically speak, some emotionally identify the virtue of Dharma and then embrace it. Not so having faith in Dharma. So we all have those 5 endowments. 8 freedoms, 5 personal endowments, plus 5 circumstantial endowments. Circumstantial is even though you have all the above, but these outer circumstances exist, you don't quite have them. One is when a Buddha has appeared. If we were born, like say, 6,000 years ago, we would have missed the Buddha. The teaching had not come yet. say if you're born maybe it's 2,400 years later now, we will miss the Buddha teaching. Buddha Dharma is only for 5,000 years. We are born in the prime, peak of the Dharma, really, spreading to more countries than it ever did. In the past, it's only spread to some Asian countries. That's about it. Maybe rich Greek, I'm told. But Greeks are pretty arrogant with what they have, so they really are not so much looking for more religion. But it did. King Milinda got really interested. He met a Buddhist monk. He wrote backwards and forwards, and so, but didn't go further than that. It doesn't go to the west. It didn't go to the north in Russia or somewhere. It didn't go to South America or anywhere. Now it is everywhere. So that shows we are born at the right time. Yeah, when not only the Buddha taught, but the Dharma is flourishing. 10,000 Tibetan Buddhist centers over the last 50 years established around the world, just without any kind of missionary act, without any single cent funding from office to say we're going to missionize Buddhism. No, just people went to walk the mountains. They went trekkings, and then they saw the people, and they liked something about their way of doing, and then they invite individual teachers one by one. And that's how it spread. Why? Because it's such a valid teachings. So Buddha has not only taught the Dharma. Some Buddhas appear, but they don't teach, I'm told, because they were not suitable candidate, or era is wrong, or whatever. Shakyamuni Buddha's time, he taught 45 years. Not only he taught, but it flourished to whole many countries, and it has been flourishing since 1947, after the war, by the way. War actually did create an opening for Dharma, actually, because a lot of invaders came to Asia. Then they discovered the Asian civilization, religion, the cultures. Even though they first took the interest in Dharma, soldiers, a lot of soldiers, British soldiers, they're interested. They read books and they really make sense. They got bored, so they went to the libraries. One of the Australian senior monk, the ex-monk who's now in God's waiting room, and he was actually British Army in India, and then he discovered Dharma there while reading some books. Prakantipalo, now he's Lawrence Kantipalo. Yeah, so just only during the war did people come meet with Dharma, because otherwise traders might tell a little bit about it. They may bring some Buddhist artifacts, and there was no real actual active dissemination Dharma further than the Asian subcontinent. But since the war, or maybe a little bit before that, because there's quite a Buddhist activities in Europe about 150 years before. But the actual active Dharma propagation started in less than 120 years. Particularly in Sri Lanka, a lot of monks. Colonization helped, because then the British colonizing helped people to learn English, and then they wrote things in English, and then only Dharma can only flourish if the languages in which people speak, that they can read. So rare Dharma is taught flourishing very well. It's difficult. Even during Ashoka's time, he has so much power, but it didn't reach as far as it has reached today. I don't know who is the Ashoka now that is causing all this spread of the Dharma. Just imagine, someone's doing that. Some invisible Ashoka is doing that. All the great Dharma masters, His Holiness Dharma, Dalai Lama, definitely got a hand in that, questionably. And meeting pure Dharma brother and sister, that's even harder, So Dharma is flourishing, but if you don't have fellow, your neighborhood, your town, city where these people practice, you see them every week, you see them every month, you've been seeing them 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. That's really, really, these people definitely have put their heart and soul in the teachings, and they have hold together, work as a Sangha, and work for and with the center, and make a Dharma possible by doing their time, giving these are circumstantial, beautiful endowments. These are great endowments, This is just like a special endowment that only merit can ripen. It's not someone can politically give you. Kind support among Dharma practitioners. It's generally good nature of Sangha is if you really need help, you just need to ask. You wouldn't believe how many kind people are there, particularly in all communities. I'm not saying it's only in Buddhist groups. The goodwill of people is everywhere. We just have the humility to ask. And others can only help you whatever they can. But people who in the Dharma can help you to meet Dharma, to flourish Dharma, to make you to discover and practice Dharma. So these 18 qualities, characteristic, recognition of 8 freedoms and 10 endowments. If you recognize these, we will be meditating in a very delightful mood from here onwards. It will change your whole mood of the person once you realize precious human. Realizing that I have these many qualities, and this is amazing, if it's very important. So this brings us to the next point, the life of great benefit and meaning. If you truly realize these 18 qualities, then your life, you will have a totally turn your body, life, and assessment completely 360 degrees. Previously, you might have been looking from one angle only, but you will look at it from all point of view. Reflect those who have achieved, maintain mundane qualities. Those who have actually done mundane qualities in the physical, in this human world. They also did so because they have a human rebirth. There's nothing much that anybody can achieve than human beings have done. Amazing. Whatever we have today, medical technology, for instance, all the things are human. When their life is lived meaningfully, even without spiritually speaking, even an inferior person can attain higher rebirth by practicing. And a mediocre can attain freedom from samsara. That's like arhats, freedom from samsara. Superior person can arhathood. Arhat has few levels of arhathood. And the superior can attain Buddhahood if they utilize the boat. If they do not let the boat in dry land and then use it preciously, then our life has all the potential. Shakyamuni Buddha was a human being. He was an Indian. Milarepa was a Tibetan murderer. You think of all the saints and their background. They had terrible samsaric life. Nobody had a beautiful background. People with beautiful background don't practice Dharma. They will be in the God realm. They will stay in the semi-God realm, and they're not free to practice Dharma. People who have lots of difficulties then come to Dharma, and how they were changed. So one should meditate on the rarity of finding this precious human life. Rarity because moral cause is you have to create the correct karmic causes that blesses us to find human rebirth. It is said that the human rebirth is so difficult to find, like a blind turtle trying to surface once every 100 years in the ocean, hoping that the single golden ring yoke floating on the ocean's current might be the one hole that he can put in. The possibility of, firstly, he's surfacing once only in 100 years. Secondly, there are so many currents that will take the single yoke hither and thither. Ocean is not limited pond, it's a vast ocean. So the chances of putting his neck through the hole is extremely difficult, isn't it? So, but that's only hypothetical example, But for us to actually do it and have precious human rebirth, isn't it amazing? Wow, we have done it. So you should rejoice. You should rejoice. It's totally a depression buster, this topic. This can completely stop you having time even to be sad for a little while about your own thing. Sad for the samsara and others may be warranted because without that you wouldn't develop renunciation and so forth. But regarding our own life, it just doesn't allow you. It has that power. Example point of view, very difficult. And the number point of view, number of human beings accountable wherever. And number of any other creatures, you can't count. You can't count, number of the animals. The species alone is full of outnumbers human beings. So, therefore, even among human beings, how many are non-human beings? Non-human beings outnumber human beings. Human beings outnumbered by, those with precious human rebirth are outnumbered by those just mere human beings, mere bipeds. Among those who have heard that there's precious human rebirth is so few. Those who realize that they have precious human, even fewer. Those who realize that they have precious human rebirth are the fewer are who actually doing and making use of it. So that's what this number is. And those who really, really hear the teachings and took heed to it and practicing Dharma at all costs and not waste a day or week or month in doing less than meaningful things are far outweigh the number of who are actually trying. People doing all this kind of feel-good meditations, hundreds of them. People who really want to do that quality meditation, dwindling slowly, fewer and fewer and fewer. So that shows how few are actually extracting the precious human rebirth. Number of people who realize and do it is fewer. Number of people who know the intellectual Dharma is quite a big. But those who will take on the practice is even fewer. And those who face difficulties and not doing is even more. And those who really will practice like Shantideva or like Milarepa are maybe just Shantideva. Maybe Milarepa only. That's why we have not many Shantidevas and not many Milarepa. So rare. And so from number point of view, it's very difficult. So this life is extraordinarily rare. Some things are rare, but once you found, got no use. Like a rabbit with a horn. If you find a rabbit with a horn, nothing useful. So this isn't kind of a hypothetical analogy. If you find a precious human rebirth, when you truly assess it, you will find, look at what Milarepa did by using his human potential. Look at all the King Ashoka. He did terrible things, but he just as well amended them in no time because they were born as human beings. So that's why it is very important to realize rarity of finding precious human rebirth, and then benefit of this meditation. Benefit of above consideration is appreciation of one's life and grateful to all. If this is happening to you, it's not because you have big sums of money or big income or good job or good friend, because you have really come to appreciate positively, no matter what area of your life is a little sad, but nothing saddening anymore. It is peanuts now. This is completely acceptable. If you look at all the unimaginable imperfection of everybody's suffering, our share is just nothing. We should have that kind of realization. And grateful to all, even those who have been difficult, it seems. But you will feel grateful to them because they wake you up to go and find Dharma. Without these difficulties in life, people will not seek Dharma. So actually, they have been great help. Thank you. Start thinking like that. And freedom from depression. You will not feel depressed if you start to meditate on precious human rebirth. Logically, intellectually, genuinely you meditate, you will find some. This is probably, of course, when people ask His Holiness Dalai Lama, why is it that you're so happy? His Holiness doesn't say, it's because I realized precious human rebirth, I think sometimes I wish he said that. Because that's what it is, If you realize precious human rebirth, you simply will not be dampened by something difficulties that happen in your personal life and then become sad and discouraged by like that. It doesn't happen because you still know overall your life is among the top 10. Maybe. And so what? All the other areas are not causing any trouble. So it's just you know how to meditate on them. You make a very positive comparison. Every problem is an opportunity to grow up. You will not see the problem as a problem, but a problem as short-lived. Problem has in life its own, unless you have no precious human rebirth. The animal who is afraid of the hunter is a problem, isn't it? Animal hunts hunter hunts the animal runs, goes into the trap. That is the problem, real problem. But human beings who have pressure in their birth, even if they're hunted by whatever, but they instead go into the trap, they go to Dharma. They will turn to Dharma. That is the distinction we're talking about. That's why the problem. Every problem is opportunity to grow up. Next level, power to make positive changes. Yeah, you will make definite changes of our attitude of life in general, and particularly of our own self. There's so much self-kindness if you practice precious human rebirth, if you realize precious human rebirth. So much self-respect, which is really good. We have been taught too much to be harsh on ourselves. People could be very nasty to themselves and too much demanding of too much. We should be gentle and encouraging and talk to yourself. Look, you got 18 merits, my dear. Don't you know that? Oh, what are they? You want to read me again? Yes, I'll read that. Just keep reading. You're free from that. What did you do in the past life? How did you escape that? Wow. Oh, you have faith in Dharma. How did you do that? You live in a kind of a Judeo-Christian society where nobody really think Buddha is great. They think he's a devil or something. How did you do that? You see? So you start thinking like that, positively speaking, put a positive spin to everything. That's why precious human rebirth is appreciative joy. It's called appreciative joy. Yeah? So this is unimaginable joy. And joy is such a valuable thing, but only if you have a heart and mind that is fit to think positively, and then you have joy. And the joy doesn't come from material possessions or wealth. Joy comes from inner merit, the merit of the sharp, good mind. They say, good mind, please bless me with a good mind. Good mind is only possible in a good circumstantial endowments, personal endowments, 8 freedoms. And more, of course, more on top of that. These days, I can list 1,800 lists of freedoms, not just these things. These are very old. So, demerit of lack of this realization. If you don't have this meditation realization, this is where people are ungrateful, craving and not seeing the good in anything, even the difficult. But person who has precious human, they see good in all the even problems and setbacks and loss or whatever it is. People deliberately have to renounce attachment to practice Dharma, and you don't feel at a loss of possession, a house. It's very good. His Holiness Dalai Lama and Tibetans, when they really kicked out of the, they feel really, now they have to force to practice renunciation. Forced to practice renunciation, Previously it's talking renunciation, but no real renunciation. Talking renunciation. So, hardship though it is, but it makes us to do something useful with it. That's when you have got Dharma. If you have no faith in Dharma, your life wouldn't be precious human rebirth. It may have the other 16 or 17, but if you don't have faith in Dharma, you will not be able to thinking like that. You have a tendency to be sad over small things and anxious and depressed. That's the demerit of not realizing precious human rebirth. And aversion to life's challenges as a failure. As what did I do to deserve these? People start thinking like that, They don't realize, what did I do to have these things? One can completely be very, very fair to you. Just put in a scale all the things you have. Inventory of all the good things your life has, all the life things that are difficult. Then you would be surprised what you forgot to put in what you have. And so it's a profound joy. Joy comes from contentment, not from greed. Realizing precious human rebirth is a cause of joy, and staying stuck in the past. Yeah, people stuck in the past because they haven't had Dharma. But the moment they heard the Dharma, moment they thought about it, and they really put their heart into it, it just completely shifted, and they become light-hearted about the past. See the foolishness, the fullness of what like Shanti Deva was saying. Don't be a fool. Yeah, staying stuck in the past. Now, one will not be that. So if there is still this problem, you should remedy this problem by meditating to realize the preciousness of human life. So you sit down, go through these points, and then take refuge at the very beginning, and then point by point, and tell yourself how to meditate. Meditate, I'm free from this, I'm free from this, I'm free from that. All the things you are free from, all the things you have. Then rejoice. If you have this rejoicing ability, then reflect on the plight of those in the lower realms. Think of their beings in animal realm. Think of those people live in very, 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 very squalid conditions. No freedom, no intellectual freedom. No, some have a lot of freedom like here, but so poor and so disease-ridden and live worse than animals in our country, isn't it? This is the majority of the world is like that, India, China, these are very, very beautiful countries. They have a lot of rising economy, but 80% of the people live very, very, very below poverty, And for them to practice Dharma is a luxury. They have freedom, partially, but not free because they have to work so hard just to ends meet. So actually, there is no better place than where we are. That's the meditation, really. And rejoice. And then make a positive comparison and induce strong resolution to live fully each day. And you will find a light kind of energy. It gives you so much energy and I would say very, very, very optimizing teaching. Precious human rebirth. After looking at all the other possible realms of existence, when you survey the 3 lower realms and so on, which was the topic we covered, then we realize nothing as sweet as your home. So you realize how blessed my precious human rebirth is. Then what is amazing thing is then everything you have looks so good. And then you feel so thankful. You will not be craving and wanting and not complaining anymore. That's the kind of sign of the I haven't put any more there, but sign of the success of this meditation and precious human rebirth is this, you see good in everything you have. Just question is how you can put them to good use. And every difficulty is just a pointer for you to look deeper. Not look at some kind of superficial level things, but look really. You may think that is a setback, not like his situation. But you really look at that carefully, it is the pointer to the Dharma. It is pointer for you to go deeper into refuge, in revalidation of the Dharma. And then your life becomes, very, very precious. Because life actually is the most precious thing we have. Anything else is secondary to the life. Even if you have other things, it's not precious if you don't have the life. so even Dharma is not so precious if you don't have a life that appreciates it. Isn't it? So we should maybe say we have 4 objects of refuge. The true precious gem is precious human rebirth is one of them. If you realize it, then the Buddha's gemness you wouldn't conceive. It is inconceivable, they say, qualities of the Buddha, particularly if you have precious human rebirth. Those who don't realize precious human rebirth, they don't realize the qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, they're not appreciating it. So that's why this topic is so important, because often we talk about suffering of lower realms, and lots of people get really overwhelmed by this, and they just cannot do practice because they're so overwhelmed by suffering of samsara. But if you realize that it is one who is daring to be different, like the Shakyamuni Buddha, he didn't give up thinking, I'm only one person, I can't do nothing, I'd rather continue to be king. He would have said that. But he said, look, someone got to do it. Someone got to do it, and I have had this kind of wonderful life so many times, but they're all like boat that I never use. So this time I'm going to use this boat until the last piece, until all. Even if the whole boat becomes completely capsized into this, I will make sure I reach the other shore before it does. What's the purpose of the boat? Not to carry on the shoulder on the dry sand or to paint it, to exhibit to others. That's what most people are doing. They're all lost in exhibiting, trying to look young and fit, but never doing enough practice. Completely lost in the illusion of form and appearance, and not spending time to actually practice and change the heart and mind. So, it's amazing. They say, health is first, but what's for? Just so obsessed with the health, to the extent that you are not doing anything practice, so what is the health for? Eventually, all the people who exercise are killed by the exercise. Those people, sport fanatic, their body is destroyed by the sports. And so, what's the point of being fitness? Just to kick the ball higher, a couple of inches higher than somebody? Is that a kind of a success? Which only broke your leg in the end? So it's just like going to be born in a God realm, only to fall down in lower realms, So what's the point of having a perfect body or strong or form, but lacks the spiritual content? So that is really talking about what Shantideva says. It's hard to find this boat again. This is no time for sleep. So just worshipping body and spending a lot of time just body workshop, doing no mind workshopping, no purificatory practice of the mind, but only for the form and the appearance, is indeed, a fool, that Shantideva says. So, of course, we were hit to this, and we have heard this, because these teachings are from the sutras, These are not a topic thing that they come out of the teacher's mind or person. These are fundamental topics, what we have dealt so far. First is what we call the Buddha nature. Then second, we took the triple gem, the refuge objects. And then third is law of cause and effect. Realizing law of karma is one of the four foundations. And then faults of samsara, which we talked last week. That is another one of the four common foundations. Then realizing this preciousness of this human rebirth in context of all possible other rebirth and karma of having created result, cause to warrant and to be blessed this, realizing this is one of the four common foundations, realization, precious human rebirth. Thank you for your attendance, because we are indeed bonded by our having faith in the Dharma, and therefore have this good opportunity to have a gleaning onto the teachings of the Buddha, and then analyze our life and be gentle and kind, respectful towards our life, not becoming so negative towards us. But once we are positive of our life, then we start seeing all the good around us and good in others, particularly the good virtue of the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and the teachings. And then you realize, because even more precious, because what you have as a precious human rebirth is the precious triple gem. But if you don't have the triple gem, it's not so precious, Like the Milarepa said, what do you think your life is? He says, your life is not so special. He says, your life has no dharma, so whatever you have is complete waste. It's just like a burden to your neck when you die. So life isn't so precious just because you have a human rebirth, unless it has the things that makes precious thing precious, So if we don't have the Dharma, we're not precious human rebirth. If we have the Dharma and we are really giving our time, dedication, faith, and time, braving through cold Canberra weather, good on you. I can't say that because I live just down the corner. I get driven by my amazing friends every time, and it doesn't even take 3 minutes but quite a few of you coming from quite a few suburbs, risking through the weather. And I remember Khenche Apirama said, if you take one step towards Dharma, it's amazing merit than anything else. So that is how we make our life precious. And study is one of them. Contemplating is another. And then meditating on that is on top of that. So these are the subjects that we should sit there. Not just sit there sometimes, go quiet and go sleepy, but just analytically, point by point, register the realizations and recognize them, and then nod at yourself, and remember that, and plant that, so file them into your storage of knowledge, and file them in the heart of conviction, and have them in the kind of vocabulary of your everyday language. Precious human rebirth. It's free from all these 8 freedoms, all these endowments, and so on and so forth. Then this amazing kind of outlook, that look in your eyes when you see difficulties is you don't see them anything. They're just wakers. They just wake you up. They're not dampeners of your morale or confidence. Your life could not be dampened when you compare to all living beings. And that's exactly the stamina and courage. It gives courage. A lot of precious human gives you courage, strength and vigilance. And then help those next to us who you always see someone not as fortunate as us. And we don't stay too long in that feeling of me alone, poor me. That kind of mentality was in the thing of the past. So that's the blessing of the precious human rebirth teachings. So I'll conclude here and dedicate the merits. Page 11 and 12. Sono de danje ze ba nye dane nye be dana banje ne ye ga na je bolo e do ba ze be zale no By the merit of this, may I attain the state of omniscience, defeat the evil enemies of defilements. May I liberate all sentient beings from the samsaric visions, the turbulent waves, birth, all this sickness and death. By listening to the excellent and precious mind teaching, whatever boundless merit I've acquired, may all sentient beings become statues and stainless vessels to retain the excellent and precious mind teaching. Janjo Zanjo Rinpoche, my dear Bana Jiraje, Yeba Nyamba Meba, Gone Gonda. May the supreme and precious Bodhicitta take birth yet not done so. Where does it belong? May it increase abundantly without degeneration. Thank you, everyone.